Okay, get ready, get ready, get ready. It's Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Kuso. I'm here with my co-host, Diva J. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We're laughing because we're Happy New Year in our message readings again. We're going to welcome to our show Michelle James Bradley. So happy to have you. Welcome to the show and Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you both. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure for us as well. And we have a lot to talk about. We want to give our radio listening audience, first of all, Happy New Year to you all, to our In Touch engineers. Thank you so much for being here with us and supporting us and tuning us in. You'll hear more about this, but we are just getting ready to celebrate our third year of Let's Talk Business with SJC with all of my co-hosts. And hopefully we'll all come back together again, and that will all take place during Black History Month. So excited that we have been able to, even during the pandemic, we didn't miss a beat, Diva J.
Yeah,
That's right. No excuses. We stayed loyal to the plan.
We stayed loyal to the plan, and because of Diva J, and all of her marketing expertise, she was able to help us with different type of virtual Black platforms, and we were able to use that to put on our virtual events. And again, it just provided such a great opportunity for us to stay connected with the community and to continue to support our businesses. And that was just amazing. So she is our Dash marketing guru. Let me tell you what we have in store for you today. Our hot topic today, 2022, taxes are due. You're going to hear that again because we gave it as a mantra to Miss James. So she's going to have to come back and really explain all of that. But if you're catching us live, you can see some of the things that she will be able to assist you with. Two of the things that Diva J and we were certainly interested as business owners is to make sure that we have taken advantage of all of our tax write-offs. That being, we can continue to do things and support our special causes in the community, but at the same time, keep as much as our income as possible so that we can survive and really survive during something like a pandemic. So who is this woman? Michelle James Bradley. We're going to talk about the woman, her wisdom, and her work. Are you ready, Miss James?
I'm ready.
She's always ready. But let me just take this opportunity to let our guests know just a little about you, and then we'll come back and let her share some additional information. You're not going to believe this. Ms. James has over 25 years of experience in taxation, business advisory services, business acquisitions, and accounting. That makes her the expert. She's a former controller and CFO of a major, not 500, 1,000 company in NYC. She went to make partner in a CPA firm on Wall Street in 2006. She is a well-established entrepreneur, having owned several successful businesses, including her own, are you ready for this? Weekly radio talk show, giving financial advice. And she's coming here today to do just that. And how is she able to do this? She's a graduate of the Thomas Jefferson School of Law. So when you see the name Michelle, I believe it's Michelle A. James Bradley, LLM, that's why. She moved to Tampa in 2010. She is the CEO and founder of Tax Pro of Tampa. Love the name of that. She has 2 locations. Wherever you need her to be, she's already there for you. Michelle also owns a residential home for mentally disabled adults, teaching them how to be self-sufficient. If we had to sum her up today, you all will benefit from her 25 years, actually over 25 years experience. Again, welcome to the show, Miss James.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. Thank you.
Not as excited as we are, and we wish we were in somewhat of a workshop type of thing, and that's something we can talk about, Diva J, to where people who have so many questions, they will be able to just kind of touch you and ask those questions, because the laws change every single year.
Every year, and it's been very difficult the past 2 years, and they continue to change. And as they're changing, it might only last for a year or two, and then that same law will go back and revert back to where it was. So it is important to understand, and to have someone on your side that understand the laws in the current year.
All right. Well, you guys are looking at her, but let's do this. Let's get to know a little bit about this beautiful woman and her family. So tell us a little bit about who you are, your hobbies. I know you enjoy traveling, but you can let our guests know just a little bit behind the face of Miss James Bradley.
So a lot of people don't know, I was born and raised in Jamaica. I left Jamaica when I was 16 years old, came to the U.S., and I kind of moved around a little bit, Connecticut, LA, Canada. I finally ended up in New Jersey, where I met my first husband. So I was in church one day, and the pastor mentioned a job opening in a local office. And so I ran over there the very next day to apply. It was a bookkeeping position. And I applied for it, and I did a horrible job. I knew absolutely nothing at the time. I was 19 years old. I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. And I ran in there and I was like, I would like the job. And, through trial and error, tons of classes, continuing education, pressing myself, pushing myself, I was able to kind of self-teach myself to then own that position. The gentleman that owned the company then became my husband at that point.
Okay.
So we ended up getting married, and that lasted for about 20 years.
Oh my.
Which is where I raised my two boys in New York City. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 25.
Okay.
And I have two grandbabies at the moment.
Oh.
And, my husband at the time was 10 years older than me. And I think as I started to grow into the woman that I am becoming, and still growing, still learning, things changed. And so we started to grow apart because of that. And it became toxic to the very end. It became, abusive. It became some of the trials that many of us as women go through. It just became all those things. It started out great, but ended up really bad. And it was then that I moved to Tampa. And then moving to Tampa, I actually started my entire life back over. I came here with just the clothes in my vehicle, and I started from scratch. And today, of course, I am happy to say that I've been able to push through, and I encourage women every day, don't be discouraged. Do not be discouraged when we get into those hard times in our lives.
Yes.
Because it's that push that makes us who we become today. I am able to employ right now and provide jobs for about 20 individuals. But I worked hard to get there. It was a difficult process, and I'd never tell anyone that it was easy. But I'm telling you, if you work hard, if you stay in prayer, if you stay faithful, and if you stay true to yourself, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. And I remarried 3 years ago to an awesome gentleman, and he is an engineer. So he doesn't really, work in the business with me. I think I actually prefer that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because then you get to leave it, you get to leave it and go home. And that's kind of, my story.
Oh my goodness. And we appreciate you being so transparent, because this is what we as women need today. We have this platform so that women can come on and talk about pushing. One of the things that Diva J, and I appreciate your saying this, sharing it with us, is when you are in a room, whatever you're in that room to do, make yourself present, own it. And to hear you come back and say that, that's exactly what we need to do. You own the room and ended up owning the company.
So you own the room. You get in there and you get it.
You own it. And that's what we need to do. And for those of you who are listening in, and that's the beautiful part about now having the show on Zoom, those that can't catch us live will be able to catch the show tonight, tomorrow, whenever that time works best for them. And that's the beautiful part. And you're sharing that testimony will certainly be able to help so many individuals. I was about to ask you what makes you tick, but we don't even have to worry about that. And you also told us what ticked you off. So you've answered the questions, and we appreciate that. And that's the woman and the contribution that you are making to this world today. You are now fully Miss James Bradley, walking in your purpose. And there's so much more that we can learn about you. But we've got my co-host who's right in that age range with your sons, and look, and my children as well, the youngest set of my children. And so, Diva J, what did you take from all of that?
So much. First, thank you for sharing that and being so transparent. I think as someone that's in your child's range, right? First of all, I was surprised. I was like, what, 30? You look like you about 40. 10 years old? No, I'm just playing. But
60 really, is the new 40.
It really is.
But no, I really can appreciate you sharing that story as someone who's kind of at the beginning of the journey of marriage and of having kids. And I just I have a 6-month-old and 4-year-old. So just being able to hear your story and see how you added some affirmations at the end, which were confirmations for me, right? Continue the good work yes. hard, push through, pray, stay true to self. Those speak directly into where I'm at today. I smiled big when you said that you now employ about 20 people, because somewhere deep down inside of me is this want to be able to provide opportunities for other folks. And so you sharing your testimony for me is just confirmation that if I continue to push forward, push through, and just stay focused, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I can really appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. I tell people my day doesn't end at 8 or 9. It ends when it ends. And my weekends are not always my weekends. And I use traveling as my out. But as long as my days are going, I am usually pressing towards something else.
Absolutely beautiful. So there you have it, the woman. To learn now a little more about what 25 years of experience is going to provide for us today is going to be derived from her wisdom. Just hearing bits and pieces of what you've shared with us in your life experiences, we can tap into that reservoir. And that's something that we can always go back to as women or just people in general. But Diva J, let's just kind of see what type of wisdom we can just kind of, piggyback from what all she's saying. We know to press forward. And I tell you, man, perseverance. If I had to define you with one word, it would be perseverance.
Absolutely.
Diva J.
Absolutely. So coming as a native of Jamaica, and my husband's family is from Jamaica. I love Jamaica. Got married in Jamaica. That really introduced me there, because while I don't know what part you came from or anything like that, that's cultural. And so that transition from Jamaica to America, I'm sure was another big transitional part. So as you kind of reflect on really where you come from to where you are today, anything that you can shed light on what it means when you say stay true to self, and any fundamental values that you find to still ring true as you maneuver in your professional career?
The transition from Jamaica was very, very difficult for me. We see all color when we, if you're born and raised in Jamaica. We see all color. But we don't recognize color. We see it, but we don't, we don't recognize it. And so when I got here and I started having to deal with racism, I had a very, very difficult time with that. So I have been suspended from school. I have been, I got into fights. It was just a very difficult transition for me, just being told that my voice didn't matter or it shouldn't be heard. And, I lived in Connecticut with my aunt, and she was like telling my dad, "You got to get her. She's not adapting here." We were in South Windsor, Connecticut. And it was primarily a white school, right? In Hartford, you had a mixture, but here in South Windsor, we had a handful of us, and I was a part of, the handful. And she was like, you've got to get her. She isn't getting it. It just isn't working for her. And I just remember saying, why would I ever want this to work like this? It should never be where I need to quiet my voice. Why do I need to quiet my voice? And I remember a girl telling me on the bus one day, why don't you just shut up? And boy, yes. And it was just really difficult. So, throughout the years, while I understand that racism exists, it is certainly not something that I choose to battle with. I will continue to speak. I will continue to excel. I will continue to push through, because I will not let, just because of my color, that I am not inclusive. I'm not included in something. So I would have to say, for me, that had been one of my biggest challenges in how to deal with that, even as I got.
We got it as you make your adjustments.
But no, I think that's definitely valid. And it's always, I always get excited, Cheryl, when we can speak to folks who are coming from other countries, other cultures, and kind of have, moved into this American culture, if you want to call it that. So
absolutely,
I think that's definitely a valuable way of looking at it. And I think for me, that's why I enjoy personally so much going to places like Jamaica and going to places where, man, I mean, you can relate, everybody's there. It's just a whole different vibe. So I knew that there was a part of that story in there that was definitely worth it. But you're back, Michelle. So I want to give you an opportunity to finish with
yeah. And that's awesome. That's awesome hearing you say that. I'm looking forward to going to Jamaica. No, I've never been, but I will be going in 2022 because my baby girl is going to be getting married in Jamaica. So I'll have to talk to the both of you. Yay! So we're excited for her, and we're looking forward to it. And thank you so much for sharing. And you got me wanting to go and visit there. It was one of my bucket list things, so it's time for me to go ahead and check it off. But please go ahead, DBJ.
It's a beautiful country, and of course, notwithstanding its challenges, as you do with most countries that have poverty. My last travel was to Ghana over the holidays.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and
I saw that.
Yes, that was super amazing, And again, when we went and visited one of the villages there, and the chief came out and said, we are so glad that you are all back home. We are glad that you have come to visit home. And it was just truly touching, because with that, the things that they use their hands to create, because there's a lot of poverty in Ghana, and the things that the yard, what they call it, the earth food, they brought that as an offering, as a gift to us, just for coming to visit. They even went as far as bringing out a goat, and I was like, oh my God, please don't try to sacrifice the goat in front of us right now, but and we can't take the goat. We can't take it back with us. So, But, and then they gave us this hand woven cloth. And, you know, and that's the thing. As African Americans, people in the US just don't realize just how blessed. They don't realize how blessed they are in this country called the United States of America. When I was told I was coming here, it was for an opportunity, and I made sure I took every advantage of that. I made sure I came here and took advantage of, you know, your learning institutions and just everything that this country provides, buying a home, you know, just having the opportunity to do it all. Where in another country, it, you know, even such as Jamaica, there are so many challenges with that because you just are not able to afford those things there.
Absolutely.
You know what, DVJ, and I know you've got a couple of more questions. You know, as the thoughts just come to me, I'm thinking how Liz would just welcome a conversation with her, especially when Liz, Dr. Liz Hodge Freeman, is Jeanette DVJ's sister. And she did some studies in South America, specifically over in Brazil, and she's written 2 books. And the one speaks to what you're talking about on colorism. And so the 2 of you should really meet. DVJ?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as far as your path and where you are today, we understand that you took the first job, educated yourself, have kind of mastered it. But now as a master of it, you know, I was on your website, you're speaking. What have you found to be kind of the legacy that you want to leave on this industry now that you've made such a great impact within over the past 25 years as you now kind of transition into hopefully what will soon be for you retirement and a happy vacation on the beach, you know? But what do you see your legacy possibly being or wanting to be, the impact that you even leave on clients and just that footprint?
You know, I certainly would want to know that I have made a difference in the lives of many, and I have touched the lives of many. You know, the saying is, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so, you know, I try to always make sure I am giving back as much as I can. I am teaching, you know, our young ladies. I am mentoring our young ladies. I do work, you know, like I said, directly with disabled adults here, and that's male and females, just trying to make sure that, and my homes, I make sure the homes that we provide for them is something that you and I would walk into and live in any day. I make sure that they're nicely done and updated always, because that is the give back. I have been blessed. My hands have been blessed. My life has been blessed to have the opportunity to do, you know, more than others. And so I believe that I'm also responsible for giving more. And I do so in, you know, in my daily activities. I try to make sure I'm always doing more.
So, but we do know, in whom much is given, much is required. And I know David wants to get in some more questions as we talk to you about your wisdom. And then we'll take a commercial break in a couple more minutes and then delve right into 2022. Taxes are due. Back to you, DJ. And the book.
So as Cheryl was reading your biography and as I've done my research, you have master's degree, law degrees. So what led to you wanting to pursue those levels of education? What led to those decisions?
You know, when I was leaving New York City and I was moving to Tampa, I wanted to know, how do I get to a place and be able to start over? And you know, there's CPAs everywhere, but New York City is filled with nonprofits, right? They're filled with, you know, publicly traded companies. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm leaving that, but what is it that I want to do with myself? And I said, okay, I've been doing this for so many years. What I will do is I will master my particular trade, because, you know, if you're a CPA, you have different arenas that you study, but I wanted to master an arena. And so I decided to go into tax law because I wanted to master that arena, right? What is the saying? Master of, what is that saying?
Not that one. That would not apply to
No,
you.
no.
Jack of all. No. As a matter of fact, we're just going to divert that and keep moving, because we'll be preparing for your master class. That's what we're going to do with that information. Okay, Diva, a couple more minutes. She's still yours to ask.
Okay, and so as we're still in your wisdom phase, so I'm holding off on the tax questions because we got a lot of those. And so I'm going to transition off the script, so you might not be ready for this one, into motherhood, because that speaks to me. So you're a mother, a grandmother, and so as a professional woman who has children, how has that balance been? We always talk about work-life balance, right? The maintenance of work-life balance. What has been your secret to that sauce, and your insight on that? I'd be certainly interested in hearing what you say.
No sleep.
Okay, so I'm on the right track.
You know, when I was younger and I had my kids, I remember during the tax season, I had like a little bed right by my desk. I would go pick up my baby and he would just lay right there while I worked. I made no excuses for learning my trade, you know, and my baby pretty much grew up in that office because, you know, I would go and get him from daycare and we would just sit right there for hours during the tax season and he would just be okay. And when I had my second son, I remember going to work and just having to take nursing breaks. You know, again, I just continued to always push. I did not go on maternity leave. I went to all the games. I went to all the rehearsals. I definitely tried to do it all. My younger son actually is studying the field of accounting, but I think he wants to switch to law. So
Okay.
Definitely walking in mom's footsteps, but he would like to do contract law. And, you know, that work-life balance was difficult, and it still remains difficult, even in my current relationship, because during the tax season,
Oh boy.
no less than 18 hours a day for 7 days a week for those 4 months.
For months.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a break right there so that we can hear you come back and kind of sum up what that work-life and balance is all about. And what a message to the next generation and how to prepare for it. And I'm with you. We just did what you needed to do to be there to be there for you. Didn't think about it twice. And so we lost a lot of sleep back then as well. But we're going to take a commercial break, and we will be joined back again for the next half hour. 2022, your taxes are due. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking your lunch break with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Cancer affects everyone, but minority populations are often hit hardest. Moffitt Cancer Center is working to address the barriers that keep some groups from getting the care they need. African Americans develop cancer at a younger age, have more aggressive cancers, and experience worse outcomes than the general population.
While cancer treatment is evolving with precision medicine, who is being left behind? We know for many decades that some groups experience a greater burden of cancer than others. We can prevent it, we can detect it early. It's very beatable when we find it early. I have worked with cancer patients during their treatment. All cancer patients have courage.
So my treatment was about 18 months. I had 3 cancers and 7 surgeries. But my son told me, like, Mom, you're the strongest person that I know. Moffitt saved my life.
During COVID-19, Moffitt is a safe place for your cancer care. Call now to schedule an appointment.
Strong, beautiful women take charge of their lives, and it starts with learning the facts. Did you know that most women diagnosed with breast cancer have no known risk factors or family history? And it's more deadly for Black women than any other race or ethnic group. But it doesn't have to be. If you're over 40, regardless of your race or ethnicity, you need to get a mammogram every year. Early detection saves lives. Talk with your doctor about the best screening plan for a strong, beautiful you.
Champions don't quit, but there's one kind of quitter I admire: former smokers. If you're over 55 and still smoking, or even if you quit years ago, talk with your doctor about lung cancer screening, even if you have no symptoms. It's quick and painless. Lung cancer is the nation's most deadly cancer, but screening can better the odds. Ask your doctor if it's right for you. Together, we can be champions over cancer.
And we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to continue our conversation with Ms. Michelle James Bradley. And Michelle and I just stayed live on the commercial.
I didn't know what to do.
Didn't want you to be by yourself.
I didn't know what. I was like, do I take the camera off?
Listen, that's the beautiful part about technology and where we are today. We just did not miss a beat and didn't want you to miss a beat. But I do want to hear you continue your conversation about your work and balancing life with child rearing and as well your business profession, because we certainly want to help DBJ and so many of those other young parents out there who are trying to just make it happen, and then to also continue and survive. DBJ.
Well, I mean, I think, you definitely spoke about your role and what you did as a parent, but I'm actually going to flip it and say, what role did your parents play in shaping your life lessons?
So I wasn't raised with my dad. My dad, when I was about 3 years old, he had migrated to the States. So kind of, absent dad. And my mother worked 2 jobs. And I remember just watching her, going to work all the time. It also gave me a whole lot of free time. But I do remember my mom going to work. And I remember having to be home and trying to figure out how to make dinner for us. So I learned how to cook on my own, trying to clean, so that we became a team. At a very young age, I realized I needed to, step in and help my mom as much as I could. And so I became what I guess they would call it, very domesticated. I would wash my own uniforms, and everything is by hand. We don't have washing machines there back then in Jamaica. We didn't have any washing machines. You couldn't afford it. And so I would wash my uniforms by hand, and I would wash her clothes, and, you fold it and you clean the house, and there were no vacuum cleaners. It was, mops and what they call them, coconut brushes to kind of clean the floors on your knees. And that was my life. That's what I remembered with my mother, us just working together. And she provided a great life for me in Jamaica, because, again, there's tons of poverty there. So she was able to give me an opportunity to even the little that she did do. You don't have AC, so I'm not talking about any of the luxuries, because you don't get that. We didn't get cornflakes and cereals and candies. We did not get those luxuries. Those were luxuries. So I got to this country and, I'd buy a box of cereal and my son would eat it all in one day. And I was like, oh, that's like supposed to be a treat. But I realized it's not the same thing here. It's in Jamaica, that would be a treat. And that box would last me forever when my aunt did bring me one, because my aunt lived in Canada. But that's, I think, seeing my mom just go out and work, it also, I'm sure it instilled in me the hustle, because I do it every day, the hustle.
I feel you. Oh my gosh, Diva J, I know this is an eye opener for you. You've heard your grandmother have these conversations, and I think your generation, you all are so privileged. You have so much. You have so many opportunities, and it's up to you to take advantage of them. I can so identify with you, and I can say Michelle because we're friends. Because my father died when I was a little girl, and my mother was pregnant, and she was raising 8 children, and so we ended up moving into a housing project. But watching her and what she went through to make sure that we did not miss a beat. And you're right, you had to learn to do it all. And I appreciate you sharing that. Sometimes when people look at business women and they see you're successful, they have no idea.
None.
What it took for you to sustain yourself, to just keep your sanity from day to day. They have no idea of the sleepless nights, wondering just how you were going to keep things on. But when you saw those little bright eyes staring at you in the mornings, you just continued to persevere. And I appreciate that. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to ask Diva J, Ms. James Bradley, all of this information that you're sharing with us today and what's to come for this next half hour. Update us on that book.
Really? You're gonna put me on the spot.
You really could throw that right back at me too. But
I will definitely make it a point to complete my book. There's so much, like you say, our struggles in, and they don't see it.
Don't see it.
10 years ago when I opened that franchise, Michelle, when you walked in there, I had no lights in my home. They had shut off my lights. I had eviction notices on my door. I had to have my son go stay with a friend. People don't know my struggle. They don't see it.
They don't know.
But I knew if I continued to press through, I had Chase Bank chasing me for their vehicle because I could not afford to pay the car note. I have had you struggle through it, you push through it. And with that, I came out that first year as one of the top performers in Liberty Tax when I completed that year. I hit one of the brand, as they would say, the newbies that come in. I was one of the top performers.
And when I walked in that door, I would have never known. You look the exact way you look today. Your hair was all loose and a little shorter, but no one would have known. I was just so happy to see a woman of color in that particular business. And so for you to be on our show today, and let me take a moment, really, hashtag the best experience, Miss James. Listen, if you are tuning in to us, please share this video. You want to hear what this young lady is saying. And if you've got younger women in your family, your nieces and your great nieces, share this video. Let them just get a glimpse of what she's sharing with us about today, so that when the book comes out, they'll be ready to hear the full story of how I got to be where I am today. And I know people are waiting to hear, they want some tax tips. But Diva J, was there another question before we just jump right in to taxes?
Well, we could jump right into taxes if you ask. It's almost that time.
But I tell you, we just can't say thank you enough for your honesty and your transparency. My heart is just so full just listening, because you're reminding me of where I started and how I got started, and how my mom she didn't force things on us, but you couldn't help but want to do better. And so that being said, you're the guru, CPA, tax attorney. When we're looking at all of that, we already know you're an entrepreneur. But for women who are in business today, and a lot of doors are opening as a result of the pandemic, people are taking what used to be a craft and honing in and saying, wow, there's a need for this. Maybe I should go ahead and start my business. So let's just start right there. What would be some of the first things you would share with a potential business owner? Because just hanging that shingle out there, that's such a small part of it.
You know, I cannot understand a person that will exhaust their 401k, their savings account, their credit cards. They'll borrow from family. They'll borrow from the bank. They'll refi their home. They will go to the end to provide the resources to open a business, but they will not talk to a professional. I can't understand it. Like, when I see it, I cannot understand it. You put your entire self into it, and you lose it because you get no direction from a professional. And if I can impress upon people, when you are ready to start a business, you need to seek consultation. The SBDC provides a lot of it here in Tampa. I am one of the instructors for them. You get free classes. I provide a 15-minute consultation for, new business owners. Take advantage of what is out there, whatever and wherever it is, but do not run out here and do business and not consult a professional. You will need to talk to a lawyer, and you will need to talk to a tax person. Do not try to do your taxes on your own. And if I see small businesses fail all the time, and that's because of the foundation. They don't start out right. You cannot run a business for an entire year and not understand your financial position. You cannot look at your bank balance and think that that's your financial position. It is not. You need to understand the pricing of your services and your products, and you need assistance in doing so. You can't say, oh, I bought it for $1 and I sell it for $3. I'm making $2. No, ma'am, you are not making $2. You have shipping, you have commissions, you have bank fees, you have insurance, you have rent, payroll. You have to consider those things when you price your products and your services. And that is my message always to someone that is looking to start a business. You don't understand it enough to do it on your own. Seek a professional to assist you.
Michelle, how can they get in touch with you?
My office is located at 3420 South Dale Mabry Highway, Suite S. My phone number is 813-831-6100, 813-831-6100, and my website is taxproftampa.com, taxproftampa.com. And I'm always willing and available to do a consultation.
Is that now the consultation with Hillsborough County? That's something that they will have to go on their website and set up for and get that scheduled. They wouldn't necessarily be calling you for that consultation, correct?
Correct. The SBDC, and I wish I knew about the SBDC. Right?
We've had Carolina on the show every year, right, Diva J?
Mm-hmm.
Just preaching to us all.
Miss Minor is just fantastic. I love her to death.
The best.
I love her. And that program is so fundamental. And my God, they provide all the resources for you.
For free.
For free. She has some of the top leading professionals teaching her classes for free. Go and take advantage of it. You know,
look here. And for those of you that don't know, you can find her right on the cover along with Diva J, DSI Black Pages. She will certainly help you and your business. But we're giving people the opportunity to hear you. And if they want to know more about it, they can certainly reach you. And I'm going to repeat the number because I'm sure they confused that 813 with the 831. But it's 813-831-6100. That's how you want to reach Michelle James Bradley at Tax Pro of Tampa. Now, we were talking about, businesses. Would you say that's the same for individuals? I was talking to a lady yesterday and she wants to start her own nonprofit, and actually she has a great plan for what it is she wants to do. It's just taking that first step. Would you say the same advice to start your nonprofit that you would have, that you gave to us for starting a for-profit business?
Absolutely. And the reason I say that is a lot of people say they want a nonprofit because they're saying, I don't want to pay any taxes. That is not the reason to start a nonprofit organization. A nonprofit organization is highly, highly monitored by the IRS.
Yes.
That is not your personal checkbook. It cannot be your personal checkbook. Your board of directors give you directions.
Yes.
And people need to understand nonprofits are not a get-rich scheme to avoid taxes. That foundation will get you in trouble faster than you can even blink, because you cannot go out into the community, take funds or give funds or get grants and then think you can misuse those funds.
Ooh.
And when you decide to pay yourself, you have to, not what you think you're worth. It is not what you think you're worth. It is what the market would offer you as a salary. That is not a way to go in and say, I'm going to make six figures, because that's what it is. If your job would only, if going for that same job with another organization would only pay you $65,000, that is what you would need to pay yourself in the organization. And so I think a lot of people don't understand the whole nonprofit and how that actually works, and understand that it is highly, highly monitored by the IRS.
And such sound advice. And thank you so much for that. We can do a show on that alone. And I know Diva J has some questions that we want to make sure we get in as a small business owner herself. Diva J?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. I can say for sure, when I started Dash 10 years ago, a CPA and an attorney were the two. I couldn't afford it. So I even started with Legal Shield, because I couldn't afford an attorney by the hour, but I knew I needed something. And the CPA just happened to be someone who was really the CPA for my boss before I started the company. And to be quite honest, he's been with me ever since. And so he has literally seen physically and by the book the growth of the company. Even when I work with clients now who want to say, oh, I want a nonprofit, I want this, I tell them, don't talk to me. You need to go talk to a tax person. Once you have made sure that your books and everything you need to know are in order, then come to me about how we market this. So I can definitely echo that. That is essential, that solid foundation. So as we come into this tax season, one of the questions that I have is about charitable giving. How impactful is charitable giving when it comes to taxes or tax write-offs? I've been told, unless you're giving away $20,000, not much. So what is your take on that, and what should people know about that?
So charitable giving in the past has always been an abused tax line on the tax return, right? When they changed the tax laws a couple of years ago, they then limited, they limit people to actually use that, what they call the Schedule A, where you would write off, because they wanted you to, especially people here in Florida, right? We don't have state taxes. And so a lot of us don't meet the requirements to even file on a Schedule A anymore, because they have now raised the standard deductions for individuals. Okay, so unless you can exceed, I believe this year is 12.9, but don't quote me on that, but unless you can exceed that as an individual, you can't even begin to start writing off charitable deductions, right? Because it would take mortgage interest, you would need some real estate taxes, you know, unless, of course, again, you have more than that $12,000 to even start out, even being able to use that particular form. So it is not as advantageous as it used to be, but it's still a great line item deduction. Yes. Based on a percentage of your AGI, or 2% on your AGI. So it is not as advantageous, but it still does very much exist if you are a giver. You know, if you actually, you know, do a lot of donations, you do see the benefit. You will see the benefit.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then along that same lines, as we talk about write-offs and things like that, so every year when I do my profit and loss statements and I'm allocating in QuickBooks, what goes where, what, as business owners, what have you seen that may be common mistakes or things that folks, you know, if I'm starting out a business, I'm paying out this personally, when really that could be something that's a business expense and should be written off appropriately. What are just some of those common mistakes that people can really be a little bit more intuitive about?
Commingling of funds.
You got to. You got to tell the people.
You know, oh, I have my business, and you know, and they're transferring money back and forth. They're personal to the business to the personal, and they're just constantly commingling of funds. You will lose your protection from your LLC. It is what they call piercing the corporate veil. If you commingle your funds with entity to entity or entity to persons, meaning yourself, you will lose the protection the LLC provides. So it doesn't matter that you ran out there and got an LLC. If you are not operating the LLC correctly, you still don't have the protection you need. For example, you have a rental property that you may have purchased in an LLC. I go on your property, I fall, and I sue because I've hurt myself. If you are commingling your funds with your personal accounts, I can sue your entity as well as you, because you have not allowed them to be separate. You have to separate your business from yourself. They are separate entities and should remain as such. Commingling causes issues legally, and it pierces the corporate veil. So commingling is a major one. The other one that I would say is the major thing that I see people do is they set up the LLC and that's it. And they just run off. Oh, I've got an LLC. It's great. I went on Sunbiz and I got it. The LLC does not end there. The LLC is so the LLC is your legal protection against anything that might be coming towards you, right? Of your properties. It's like a legal protection. That's what our LLC, it's a limited liability company. Mm-hmm. It allows you to limit your liability if operated correctly.
Key point.
However, if you have a question, Ms. Cheryl?
No, I said key point. If operating properly.
Right. It's if operated correctly. So when someone, if you come into me and I see you on a particular tax form, because the LLC kind of mirrors pretty much all tax forms, which is really nice for businesses, but you have to use it correctly, or you have to know what to do with it correctly. So if you run out and you go to, Sunbiz and you're like, yeah, I did it. I'm great. I've got my LLC. It's limited liability company. It is recognized by the IRS as what they call a disregarded entity. A disregarded entity is subjected to self-employment taxes. It is a tax that you don't have to pay if you actually make an election to be recognized as an S Corp or a partnership. So that same LLC will become the S Corp or it will become the partnership, right? Because again, that's just a limited liability company. It does not define taxes. Taxes are separate. Do you do that separately? So if you come into me, most likely I'm going to say, you are not set up correctly. You are paying taxes that you don't need to pay. Self-employment taxes is 15.3%. Why are you paying an additional 15.3% in addition to your current tax rate? So as an individual, you have your own tax rate. And let's say you are at 15% or 20% combined with maybe your husband or by yourself. You're in a higher tax bracket. You're not in a 10%, you're in a higher tax bracket. So in addition to that 20 or 24%, you're now having to recognize self-employment taxes, and you're wondering why you have to pay so much in taxes. And so then people decide they don't want to file. And then now we get a mess. Because
listen, before we get into a mess, because I really want you to complete that. That is just so very, very important. Because when I started my business way back when, it was more INC. And I'm noticing over the last, 20 years or so, everybody is starting with, LLCs. But we're going to take a break so that In Touch will be able to end the show. And we're going to continue for just a few more minutes with Ms. James on our Facebook Live. So we're going to give In Touch the opportunity to sound off. And you guys just sit tight. You hear the music playing. And Diva J will come back and allow her to really complete that question. You In Touch says you're amazing, and you are. So more back in a minute.
Thank you.